Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be talking about new and upcoming makeup releases, but in a different way than I usually do. This isn't going to be a full overview of everything that's caught my eye that's coming out, but in this video, I specifically want to talk about things that I'm interested in, but I'm convincing myself not to buy, and how I'm doing that, how I'm convincing myself that I don't need to buy these things. So if you want to see that, just keep on watching. Okay, the first thing I wanted to mention, because I have a list here, but I forgot to write this on it and I don't want to forget to talk about it. Tom Ford has come out with 3 new quads and they're in a new formula for him. They're a cream eyeshadow formula. They seem to be more of a sort of cream to powder formula. Now this is a formula or a type of formula that I absolutely love. I haven't tried Tom Ford's version of it yet, but I love the Natasha Denona version of that cream to powder type formula. So I'm very interested in trying this formula from Tom Ford, and I love Tom Ford quads. If I were to get one of these, I would get the Rose Topaz one. I love the tones in that, and I think it's the one that would appeal to me most, and that would be the most useful for me. And on the list of things that would push me toward buying it are that it's Tom Ford. I like Tom Ford. I would be very interested to try this new formula. I love a cream to powder formula, and the colors look pretty. On the side of convincing myself not to buy it, I just don't need it. What am I going to do with another neutral eyeshadow palette? It doesn't seem special enough to me to buy it, so I haven't fully convinced myself not to buy it. It still could be something in the future that I might buy if I could get it on sale or something like that, and if it kind of lingers in my mind for long enough for that to happen. But right now, it's a no. I don't need it. There's no reason for me to get this other than I'm curious about it. But in the long run, am I really going to use it more than any of my other beautiful neutral palettes that I already have? Probably not. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is Cosmetics has come out with this whole new collection. It's called the Masterpiece Collection. And this looks really pretty. Again, it's all neutral type feel to the whole collection, and they have a lighter version and a deeper version of each product. So they brought out 2 new blush tones that look really beautiful. Now, if I were to get one of the blushes, it would be the lighter one, which I think is called Baroque. It's in that kind of shiny blush formula that they have. And the shade Baroque is described as a burnished beige. It looks absolutely beautiful. The photos on the Cosmetics website with their models wearing this blush, of course, look absolutely glorious, totally stunning. But when I was looking at that blush and looking at the description, burnished beige, it made me think of the Chanel Pearl de Lumiere highlighter blush that came out last year, this one right here. And I think it would probably have a very similar feel to that. It has the same kind of metallic, very shiny formula. It's a really kind of light, beigey nude tone. The M1 is probably a little bit darker, but this one actually works for me as a blush as well. So I figure I can be happy with this Chanel Pearl de Lumiere, and this is something I can pull out when I'm feeling desirous of that other Cosmetics one that I really don't need to buy. They've also brought out their little eyeshadow palette. So again, they have 2 versions of that, a lighter and a deeper version, and I would be interested in the lighter one, which is called Oden. And I was looking at that and I thought, you know what? It looks pretty similar to the Natasha Denona Glam Face palette in light. It's not all exactly the same tones, of course, but I think that you can get a similar feel from these eyeshadows right here in this palette that I already have. So there's no need to get the new Cosmetics one. And they've also brought out new shades of their lip cushions in part of this Masterpiece Collection. Again, I would be interested in the lighter one, which is called Mona Lisa, I think is the shade name. Again, this looks stunning. The photos on the website are absolutely gorgeous. I'm usually not all that drawn in by the way lip products look in promotional photos. Like, you can get drawn in by the skin easily. I find complexion products are more what's going to draw me in. But looking at those lip cushions and the photos they have are so beautiful. But I have ordered the new Hermes Beige Dough shade, which is a more sheer, shiny formula. it looks like it's probably a very similar color to this Mona Lisa shade. The next thing is something that's already out again. This is the Urban Decay Wild Greens eyeshadow palette. Now looking at this color story, it looks right up my alley. I love all those green tones, and I love to have a good variation of greens in my collection. So I still, although I have so many eyeshadows, I still feel that there are some gaps in my greens. Looking at that palette, I was thinking, oh, maybe some of those greens are ones that I don't have. But thinking about it further and thinking about the full looks that you would get from that palette, I think I have enough going on in my collection already that can cover most of what's going on in that Wild Greens palette that is drawing me in. So specifically, I thought of my Natasha Denona Zendo palette. This I used really recently in a look, and this green here is one of my absolute favorite eyeshadows ever. I would love to have this in like a giant, just single eyeshadow because I think it's so special. This also has some of the other tones that are in that Wild Greens palette. Like I think it has some browns and more kind of peachy tones in it as well. So this covers a lot of what's going on in that palette, I think. I also have the Sydney Grace Temptalia. This is the On the Horizon palette. This has some really pretty greens in it as well. I also used this when I was doing that green eyeshadow look recently and was really satisfied with the tones in here. And then also the Natasha Denona Green Brown palette. Again, I used this in that look I did recently, but there are a lot of greens in here. It is sorely lacking to my mind in matte greens. Most of the green tones in here are all metallic shades, but there's still so much going on with these. And this metallic formula is actually really versatile. So all three of those palettes together, I think, are giving me everything that I would be getting from the Urban Decay Wild Green. Something that I've already talked about on my channel a little bit is the new Rose Ink Skin Tint. It's the one that looks like that Chanel Water Fresh tint with the pigment particles suspended in the formula. I mentioned that it has hyaluronic acid in it, and for that reason I've decided not to get it. Hyaluronic acid irritates my skin. I'm in the process of completely cutting it out of my skincare and makeup. I have a video coming up on that pretty soon. But for anything new that comes out that has hyaluronic acid in it, I'm not going to be buying it. But beyond that, I also just don't need another skin tint. Partly because I have that Chanel one already, which is really beautiful, but also because the new Salt New York Sneaky Balms give me absolutely everything I need. Today, I think, is the first day since I got the Sneaky Balms that I haven't worn it. That's been a couple weeks straight that I've been wearing the Sneaky Balm. I have been mixing it with their white adjuster shade because I determined that the shade N12, which is the lightest shade in the Salt Sneaky Balm, it's too dark for me. But mixing it with the white adjuster has been working really great for me while I wait for them to bring out the lighter shades, which they're working on. But that just gives me everything I want in a skin tint, in a complexion product in general for the most part, like for an everyday type of product, which is also what the Rose Ink tint would be for me if I were to use it. So there's just no need for me to get that Rose Ink skin tint. Curious as I was about it, and as much as I was kind of regretful that I wouldn't be getting it, that urge has kind of passed now. I find a lot of the time with purchases with makeup and with other things, clothing and everything, if you wait a little bit, the urge kind of passes and it doesn't seem as appealing as it once did. I find if there is something that is still on your mind, that you're still thinking about all the time, really wanting to get after a period of time, after you've let that kind of initial excitement die down, that's when you kind of know, okay, this is actually something that is worth me getting and trying. But the excitement over the Rose Ink skin tint has passed, and I'm happy to just let it go. I mentioned one of the new Hermes lipsticks that has come out in their spring collection, so I have ordered the beige one. I've also ordered the orange one in that collection. I decided to skip out on the pinker one. It's called Rose Nymphia. And the reason for that, I've mentioned this as well, but I think it looks very similar to the Lisa Eldridge Love of My Life lipstick, which I have. And that one, although it's beautiful, it's not a color that I go to. I don't wear pink, like brighter, kind of cooler toned pinks a whole lot on my lips. That's Love of My Life. I think it looks so similar to the Hermes one, even in formula, because the Hermes seem to be more of that kind of lucent, slightly sheer formula. So I really wasn't too tempted to get that Hermes one, aside from the packaging, which is beautiful, but that's not a good enough reason to get an Hermes lipstick. So I decided to pass on that one, and the reason being that I already have something that I think is really very similar to it in my collection. I think the last thing I wanted to touch on today is a new Sisley foundation. So it looks like Sisley has discontinued their previous cushion foundation, their Phyto Blanc cushion foundation, which you may know is my all-time favorite foundation, or at least it was until a couple of more recent releases, but it's definitely a contender. I haven't really decided. It could still be my #1 favorite. I'm actually wearing it today, and I think it's a beautiful foundation, but they seem to have discontinued that, and they reformulated and brought out a new version of a Phyto Blanc cushion foundation, which is packaged a little bit differently. It has a more traditional sponge layout rather than the kind of push-up one that the original cushion had. And it seems that the formula is a little bit different. This one, I still haven't fully decided. I was looking at it pretty closely last night and trying to find out as much about it as I could. And I kind of decided, well, I wouldn't buy this one until I've used up the one that I already have. And then I went to apply the one that I already have today, and I think it was probably my last or second last use of it. It seems to be almost gone. So that kind of pushes the issue a little bit more on deciding on this new Sisley one. There are a few reasons that I don't want to get it. One is that there are only 5 shades of it. I find that totally pathetic, especially since they've reformulated the whole foundation. There's no reason that they shouldn't be bringing in a really nice wide shade range. The original version only had 3 shades, which was even worse, but 5 shades is equally pathetic. They're all really light shades, and even though I'm sure that one of those light shades would probably work for me, I'm not sure that I want to support them in bringing out this line of 5 light foundation shades. I just think that's really poor, and they should definitely be able to do better than that. Another reason is just the price. I think it's $180 Canadian or something. It seems to be a little bit cheaper at Selfridges, but again, it's just crazy expensive. I think it's still only the one thing that's in the cushion. There's no backup cushion like in the Chantecaille cushion. That one is very expensive, but at least there's a refill. When you buy the foundation, there's a refill included with it. So I think I'm going to pass on the Sisley, even though I'm running out of my original one. Again, it may be something that I look at further on down the line, but for now it just has too many strikes against it for me to buy it, as curious as I am about that formula. Okay, I think that's all the things I wanted to talk about in this video. I probably will have another video coming up at some point in the near future, just going over new and upcoming makeup releases, things that I haven't mentioned here, and kind of just a broader view on what's coming out. But for now, I just wanted to do this video. I thought it would be fun to try something a little bit new, and maybe hopefully it would be helpful for anyone who is trying to cut down on their spending and their makeup purchasing as well. So let me know if you have any questions or comments below. Let me know if there's anything that you've convinced yourself not to buy, or if you have convinced yourself to buy something new that's coming out, let me know about that too. If you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would love for you to do so. Thanks again so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.